Guys, the past week or so has been absolutely crazy in the crypto space. We've seen a $70 million DeFi exploit happen. And in the midst of all of this, a blockchain developer made $1 million instantly. Yes, you heard that right. And another developer was able to recover over $5 million worth of stolen user funds as a white hat hacker. This is an absolutely crazy story that you don't want to miss. So I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in this video today as a blockchain developer myself who works this technology on a daily basis. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to become a blockchain master and get into the wild west of DeFi, where developers are able to do all this kinds of crazy things with the insane returns inside of DeFi, then make sure you head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's set the stage for how this happened. So first of all, Curve Finance was drained for over $50 million in TVL, and this exact same vulnerability affected other DeFi protocols as well, with a total of over $70 million and counting lost from this attack. So how did this happen? Well, what is Curve Finance? It's a stablecoin exchange with giant reservoirs of money called liquidity pools sitting inside the smart contracts. And these are the funds that were at risk. And so how were they taken? Well, essentially the smart contracts were hacked because of a newfound bug or vulnerability in the code that was exploited via a reentrancy attack. So what is a reentrancy attack if you're not familiar? Well, I actually did a video on this on my channel on how to perform one of these. Make sure you check it out if you haven't already. Again, I don't educate on how these attacks work so that you can steal money, but how you can be an ethical hacker, which I'll talk about towards the end of this video. So the quick explanation is a reentrancy attack is when you re-enter a function to make it do things that it's not supposed to do. And I'll show you a quick example on my screen here. So this is a simple smart contract that holds money like a bank where you can deposit and withdraw Ether funds. And this is an example of a smart contract that you can attack the bank with and perform a reentrancy attack. So basically what you can do is this has a deposit function and a withdrawal function, and you can call the deposit function and the withdrawal function basically at the same time in a loop until you drain the smart contract completely. So basically you can see whenever you call withdrawal, it just checks the balance and sends that value directly to the receiver. But if you have a smart contract as the attacker, you can basically perform this in a loop where you call an attack function, it does a deposit, and then instantly does a withdrawal. And then when it receives the funds, if it still has any money left, it can continue calling withdrawal function because it's re-entering into this function. Now, the contract that I'm looking at right now is a Solidity smart contract, and many versions past this have actually automatically protected against reentrancy out of the box. But the smart contract that was exploited in this case was using the Viper programming language. And so if you're not familiar with what that is, there's a couple different programming languages you can use to create Ethereum smart contracts and other EVM compatible smart contracts. There's Solidity, which is by far the widest used language, but there's another one called Viper, which looks a little bit more like Python. And that's what this is using. It's an older version of Python, 0.2.15 through 0.3.0, where this reentrancy vulnerability was discovered and subsequently exploited. All right, so that sets the stage for the attack. So how do you get from the attack to the developer who made, $1 million in a single minute? Well, of course, the attacker in this case made a whole lot of money. Again, I don't, suggest that anybody in this channel do that. I'm not against hacking on this channel for stealing purposes. And even if you think that's okay, you're probably going to get caught. So the developer who made $1 million instantly was actually a validator on the blockchain who is running a node and was able to capture $1 million as a block reward for including the transactions into a block. So how does that work? Well, basically, Ethereum is a blockchain that runs proof of stake. It used to have proof of work like Bitcoin, where you just run a miner and you have a mining node. But now it uses validators where you have to stake Ether and run a computer that helps validate transactions and put them into the blockchain. Okay, so you take 32 Ether, you stake it into a node, and then you participate in the consensus for the network. Now, how Ethereum works now is that basically validators are selected for particular slots. So you sort of get a turn at including blocks into the blockchain. And whenever it's your turn, whatever's in that particular block is what you're going to help include into the blockchain. And so in this case, you sort of have one, lucky validator who got the $1 million block reward for doing that. So how was it? Well, essentially, this attacker wants to perform the attack and get in fast and make sure that their transactions included in the chain. So they basically have a $1 million bribe that's going to allow them to get their transaction to the blockchain so they can make off with the money. And then the validator sort of just, lucky in this case and gets selected and makes $1 million for doing that. Now, I know this is going to raise all kinds of eyebrows and raise ethical questions like, should the person who's running this validator return the money? Is it really ethical for you to just keep it? So I'll let you all debate that one down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I mean, I personally think that you shouldn't be just walking away with, stolen funds, even if you got lucky to have a block that was such a high amount. But taking that to a different scenario, the whole point here is that still running a validator has some pretty high upside to it because there's lots of reasons why someone might want to pay a very high priority fee to get, their transaction included into a block where they're not stealing money. So one particular case might be arbitrage. So occasionally there's like really big arbitrage opportunities out there where blockchain developers might make, hundreds of thousands of dollars in an arbitrage transaction simply because cryptocurrency prices have fallen out of sync on different exchanges, or there's just different opportunities to move funds from one place to another. I think arbitrage is totally ethical and legit. And if somebody wants to pay a very high transaction fee to get their transaction to a block, and you're running a validator in that case, then there's lots of cases where somebody might pay you $25,000 to get their $100,000 transaction to go through. And so in addition to this exploiter who took a lot of money from Curve Finance, and then the validator developer who made, $1 million, another ethical hacker was able to retrieve $5.4 million amid this exploit. So basically another developer who goes by coffeebabe.eth as their ENS name used a front-running bot against the malicious attacker to secure almost 3,000 ETH, which at the time of doing this was about $5.5 million. And this white hat hacker instantly returned the funds to the Curve deployer address so that they can help patch up this situation. Now, that's a really nice, silver lining of this whole thing. We do have ethical hackers who are helping mitigate some of this disaster, and there's still a lot of money left on the table. It's only about 10% of what was stolen from Curve at the time of doing this, but it still shows you how you can use blockchain skills that most people use for nefarious purposes, for good purposes, and actually help, patch up a really bad problem like this. And so that's why, before when I showed you the reentrancy attack, that you can learn about these things to help other people and protect other people from, stolen funds. And a lot of times there's going to be financial upside for doing this. It's a service, okay? And you should be rightfully paid. Now, I don't know if there's any type of bounty negotiated with coffeebabe.eth. They might have just recovered the funds and sent it straight back to the deployer's address, just to do the right thing, right? They may not have negotiated. They might have sent them something for doing that behind the scenes. I don't have any inside information to know that. But the whole point here is that you can learn about a lot of these exploitative practices like reentrancy, front running, that most people use to make the blockchain a bad experience for other people, and actually use those powers for good. And if you can do things like bug bounties, a lot of times you can earn pretty high sums of money for helping other people either prevent attacks or doing things like this where you can recover stolen funds while an attack is going down to mitigate that loss. And a lot of times there's going to be significant financial upside for you for providing those services. All right, so that's an overview of all the crazy stuff that happened over the past week or so in the crypto space, particularly in the DeFi sector, how there's all these different developers involved, some who are stealing lots of money, but then other developers who were just sort of in the right place at the right time that made a lot of money. And then also, the developers who were able to help recover some of these funds to provide a service for the ecosystem. So if you want to get in this space and position yourself for the potential upside that exists, okay, you're seeing exactly what can happen when things get crazy. If you're in the right place at the right time, then of course, having technical skills and being a blockchain developer is the number one way to do this. And so if you want to do that, then of course, make sure you smash the like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, that really helps these videos out so the more people learn about blockchain. And then you're definitely going to want to head over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp, okay? You really don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.